Hello guys, welcome to COM1110 English Communication Skills Week 12. So the Prime Minister just announced that the RMO or MCO, whatever that you guys call it, we are going to extend our quarantines in 2 more weeks. What it means that it does not make any difference with what we have currently. We are still going with our online class, and I also posted an announcement about your final exam, but do not worry about your final exam. I'll be doing a special online 2 more classes, extra classes about your final exam, and during that time hopefully I can give you guys some tips on how you can do it in your final exam as well. So we're still gonna have the same the same schedule that we have right now. So I hope that you guys are doing okay. All right. So how was the test the other day? It was quite straightforward, right? It wasn't a lot. So I tried my best to make it very simple, to make it easy for you guys, not just in terms of the questions, but also in terms of how to manage things as well. And there are some hiccups with the internet, definitely, but for your final exam it would be the process of procedure of sending your answer sheet to me would be much more easier, and I learned a lot from your test too, so that we can do better for your final exam. Okay, so do not worry about it. I will be talking about your final exam soon. Okay, so don't worry about it yet. Right, so let's go to business, which is on business writing. Right, so when we talk about business writing, which are coming out in your final exam, so what are the things that will be coming out in your final exam are basically only business writings. So there are no grammar questions in a way that like what we tested you guys in your test 1. It wouldn't be something like that. It will be something like your test 2, but no graph, definitely. So we can test you guys on these business writing. And when we talk about business writing, as I mentioned, there are 3 different formats that you guys should be aware of, which are emails, letters, and memos. And in email and letters, you should be able to do or to write complaints or replying to those complaints, or something that we call adjustments letters. Okay, you guys can also be tested in both emails or letter format on having to provide inquiry requests or even processes like reimbursement, for instance. Or on the other hand of the world is how you reply to those inquiries or requests. Okay, so let's go into what we're gonna learn today. But first of all, can you guys see this logo? How many of you guys are familiar with this picture or this logo? This is a food panda. So how many of you guys have downloaded Food Panda in your phone, or maybe you just use a browser to buy some food? So are you guys familiar with such services of delivery food delivering services? Right. So think about these questions. Obviously I wouldn't be able to hear you guys answer, but I want to activate your previous knowledge by having you guys to think and answer quietly on your own on these questions. Have you guys ordered food online? Yes? No? So if you have, what have you ordered before? Is it a drink? Is it some food? Or is it groceries? So do you prefer to order food online? Why? What are the things that make you want to order food online? Is the food still good when it gets to you? I think that is one of the biggest concerns when it comes to food delivery services. And I know for sure that before I did ask a few restaurants and a few places or cafes For instance, Starbucks. Actually, I went to Starbucks and I asked them if, they have the drive-through in Ilai, but they do not have like you basically cannot order them online via Food Panda or anything like Grab Food. So I was thinking, like, why is it? So I went to them and I kind of like asked them that question, and they told me that they want to keep the quality of their food or of their drink, obviously, for Starbucks, because Starbucks is not cheap, right? It's like $20 for one cup, which is also equals to like a standard lunch. And even if you go to, the cafe, it would be much cheaper than that. So because the product is very very expensive, they are known for their good quality. And because if they send it via online, or if they have like delivery services, they could not guarantee that the product will be as good as when you get it in their cafe or even drive-through. So they are much more concerned on their quality, which I think kind of like explains why they don't sell Starbucks on Food Panda or something. But during this our MO or MCO, or during this quarantine, I noticed that in Food Panda there is an option for Starbucks. So I guess because it's pretty much like nobody wants to go to the cafe, and I think it's basically closed out there and not much customers. So I think one of the reasons, they have to perhaps start selling online as well. So it's very interesting on how our economy has changed because of this quarantine. But it's fine. All right. So what kind of problems do you get when you order food online? Pretty sure some of you guys are an avid user of, food delivering services. Can you tell me what could be some of the potential problems that you can think of when you order food online? So for these questions, I'll be putting out some a discussion board. I'm so sorry, a discussion board. So make sure you guys answer these in the discussion board so that I can know what you guys think about food delivery services. Okay, so have a look at this pie chart here. We have different complaints about Food Panda. So as we can see from this pie chart, the biggest concern or the most complaints are definitely about rude drivers. So the people who are sending the food apparently are not very professional. They are quite impolite in a way, and that is 49%, which is almost half of the complaints that they receive about Food Panda. Now we are moving on to the second major complaints that people often talk about when they give feedback about Food Panda, which is the time taken for the food to arrive was too long. So the promise time it varies depending on the location, obviously, and you would be able to know if you use the app. They would tell you guys when is it due. But very often we would have cases where the riders might get lost or something, and it's taking them too long for them to arrive to get the food. So it's also one of the problems. Oh, okay, I don't have battery. Can you guys wait? Okay, I'm back. All right, so the third most complaints that Food Panda often receive is that because the time taken to arrive was very long, it caused the food to be cold when they receive it. So if you guys are really a foodie, you know that you want to eat the food when it's hot, right? It's one of the things that we human beings do. So one of the greatest complaints that people talk about Food Panda is that they get the food very late, and therefore it's already cold and it's soggy depending on the type of food that you're receiving. Some food are really, really bad. I mean, you're not supposed to eat it at cold. So that is why people have been complaining about it. Now have a look at some of the minorities or some of the smaller portions of complaints that people talk about Foodpanda, which are the first, second lowest or second least complaint was the hotline service, which is 9% of the whole complaints, and the less choices of restaurant, which is 7%. Okay, so all of these are the complaints that people give to Foodpanda. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different complaints that we have most oftenly, people talk about in Foodpanda. So what I want you guys to do now, I want you to switch your thinking from a student point of view to become an employee. Okay, so the context that we give you, the situation now is that you guys are currently working at Foodpanda as the manager of customer service. Recently, you received an email from a customer, Mr. Alibaba, who complained about 1. The food was cold when it reached them. Okay, number 2, time taken for the food to arrive was too long. Third is that the rider who gave the food was particularly very, very rude. And lastly, Foodpanda's customer service was unreachable. Okay, so these are the things that you need to address in it. Okay, right, so now let's talk about letter of adjustment. Now I am going to upload an example of letters format. I think it's available in last week's folder as well. It's just the same thing. So because right now you guys are moving from the thinking or perspective of a student to become somebody who is currently employed. So this is also one of the things that that the employers often give us at the university. They say that a lot of the people or fresh graduate, they do not have the required linguistic abilities to write professionally when they have started working, which is why we want you guys to switch now into thinking that you guys are now at workforce and you should be able to write good emails and good letters professionally and the most polite way possible. So when we try to construct a letter of or an email of an adjustment where you as the worker are trying to reply to a complaint from the customer, okay, what could be the best way to do it? By following again the company's protocol and also policies, but at the same time trying to maintain the good relationship with your customers themselves. Now first you gotta understand the purpose of you having this. So when you are the representative of this company, you have to remember you need to address the customer's complaint, and you also have to attempt to provide solutions or suggestions. This is very important because when you are writing, you want to agree or disagree on the problem. You also need to think about the solution to solve the problem. Okay, there are 2 ways of doing it. Number 1 is either you can accept the complaint and say yes, that is our fault, or you can reject that complaint. Now in both situations there are polite ways of doing it, and there are better linguistic skills that you can use in order for you to achieve your communication communication goals. Now let's take a look first in your subject, okay, in your header. Obviously you need to state your purpose, why you're doing what you're saying. So most probably that person sent you an email or even a letter with their own headings or subjects, right? So if it's an email, or even a letter, I want you to write RE, which means reply. Okay, so if you are familiar with emails, you would know if you reply to that person, the subject would be RE, and then what is the subject from the previous email. Okay. Or if you are being very lazy and you want to keep it short, you can simply say a reply to complaint letter reference 0021. Okay. Now let's have a look first at the introduction paragraph. In your introduction paragraph, as a professional worker, you always need to acknowledge that you have received the complaint letter or the complaint email. It's very important for you to show some certain level of empathy. What does it mean by empathy? Empathy is when you understand and you put yourself in that customer's point of view, in that customer's shoes. Think about their emotions, and you can feel and understand their circumstances in what way. Okay. So how to indicate or how to show that you are acknowledging that you have received the complaint, you can use words like, thank you for your letter of blah 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 regarding or concerning or in connection with blah 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 blah. Okay. Or you can go very straightforward. You can say, I refer to your letter or email regarding blah 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 blah. So when you say that, it's basically you are acknowledging that you have received that complaint. Okay. Second, when you want to show some sort of empathy towards your customers, okay, you can say, we agree that the usual high standards of our product or services were not met in this instance. So based on your customers' feedback, and I assume that customers will give out very long details, quite substantial amount of information and narration when it involves the product or misuse or even problems with the product. You can say this like, we agree that we understand your concern about our blah blah blah. So when you're doing that, you are showing that you have empathy towards them. Okay. There are certain stages, okay, in accepting a complaint. As I mentioned, there are two ways. It's either you want to accept it or you want to reject it. So if you have decided, when you look at the complaint, you read it and you feel that that is purely the faults or mistakes coming from your company, and sometimes it's also good that you would accept that it's your fault. Okay. So be the bigger person, be the bigger man, and admit that that is your fault. So there are a few steps of doing it. The first one, always do apologize for the error. Okay. Second, provide a short explanation about the issue. Third, provide the details of the investigation. Ooh la la, what's investigation? I'm going to talk about it in a bit. And lastly, do not forget to propose a solution to it. Alright, so here, when you want to apologize for the error, these are some of the wonderful language that you want to use. We must apologize for, or we sincerely apologize for. Please accept our apologies. Okay. I would like to apologize for the error made by our company in helping blah 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 blah, or in duplicating your bill, for example. Okay. Or this is an example here, we sincerely apologize for the incorrect information shown on the advert. Okay. Moving on, same goes to this is a similar, I taught you guys on CES, am I right, before? And this is one of the ways of giving explanation to the issues, is when you use causes and effects, C and E. Okay, C and E. So C is that's when the error caused by blah blah blah. Or you can say apparently the problem was blah 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 blah, or resulted from blah 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 blah. Or you can say the cause or the root cause of this issue was blah 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 blah, and the reason for the mistake was blah 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 blah. Now, not only you have to acknowledge that is your fault, but you also have to justify and sort of like give your own part of the story, which is important as well. So as a result, what happened? This leads to blah blah blah, or this led to, because it's in the past, this consequently blah 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 blah. Okay? Now, when the thing has happened, very often in very big company, they will eventually give a bit of a detail from the investigation itself. So they will have people or some staff in charge to look at what actually happened, and then you can use the language like, if the investigation has been done, okay, and you found the results to the investigation, you can say a result from our investigation, we found that blah 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 blah. Okay, do not say after our investigation. So this is also one of the differences on language, in a way that we are showing some linguistic skills to indicate that you know some polite way of saying it. Second, if investigation has not been made and you just recently saw this an issue and you wanted to reply to the customers first, and you don't have the results yet, you can say we are currently investigation on the cause of blah blah blah, or we will investigate the cause of blah 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 blah. All right. Okay, next is proposing a solution. So when you try to propose a solution, you try to give back or compensate back on what that customers have gone through. So as a gesture of regret, we are prepared to give you a credit for blah blah blah, or you say we are willing to, or we would like to blah 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 blah. Or you can say to show goodwill, we will blah 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 blah. Or an offer to take the good bags or make a replacement, or even to give a discount. Another option as well, you instead of giving them some credit or cashback or something like that, you can say that we would like to send a new replacement for you. We have dispatched the new item by express courier that should arrive before blah 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 blah. Or you can even give a discount to show our goodwill. We would like to offer you a 5% discount on our next order with us. Okay, just so that you can make them feel better about it. So let's move on now to how, if you want to reject a complaint, if you want to reject the complaint, these are the few steps that you have to do. And please bear in mind that sometimes rejecting a claim might happen because of your superior. Maybe your boss say that we shouldn't accept it, and I think that is most of the cases in company. But there are some polite ways of doing it. So the first one is that you have to show regret at the client dissatisfaction, and you reject the responsibility of the problem. You have to give reasons why you want to reject the complaint, and also try to propose a new solution as well. First, to reject a dissatisfaction, okay, you need to show some level of empathy as well. So you say, well, we understand your frustration, or we understand how disappointing it is. It can be when your expectations are not being met, or it is unfortunate that you have to face blah 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 blah. Okay. So rejecting a complaint, you also want to indicate that you are no longer responsible for you are no longer responsible for the complaint. You want to say that I regret to inform you, or I'm afraid that that is out of our jurisdiction. Unfortunately, I must point out, for example. So this is an example. Unfortunately, I must point out that the misinformation in the advertisement is not borne by us. Okay, not only you have to reject not only you have to reject the complaint, you also have to give reasons, because you need some valid reasons before you decide on something, right? So you can say this is because the guarantee period has expired, or you can say this is due to the fact that the guarantee period has expired, or you can say the responsibility is entirely on the printing company's shoulder. Okay, so this is when I need to hear a bit of like a creative alternatives or creative reasons coming from you guys. So remember that the reasons can vary according to the issue, but make sure that your reasoning is concrete and true. Alright, it's very, very important. You cannot simply just say anything or blah blah blah. There must be some consequence to it. Okay, next. After that, you also need to give or propose some solutions. The first one is to direct your client to another party that could be involved in this area. So we therefore suggest you to connect with blah 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 blah. Okay. Alright, so the conclusion is that when you're writing conclusion, you have to ensure, or you have to make sure that the client would feel secure and would feel justified in a way that you ensure them that such errors will not happen again. You also try to maintain a good relationship with your client. Okay, and then if it's this is very optional. If you think that this is very important, you can also give your number or your email. Okay, so you can use like, we look forward to receiving your further orders, assure that they will be filled correctly or promptly. Okay, now your task is that I will create a journal. I want you guys to now answer this question. You are currently working at Foodpanda as the manager of customer service. Recently, you received an email, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so using, now I want you to reply to the email. So you also need to use the format of an email. Try to reply to the email and try to provide solutions to resolve the issues. So you may refer to the slides on how to do things, and I want to see if you can do it. Okay? So this is a format for a formal letter, but I want you guys to do in email. Okay? Alright. So thank you so much for joining me. Please do your tasks on Blackboard. So if you do this exercise on Blackboard, I can correct you to show that this is how it should be done instead of that. So it's very important for you to be very active on Blackboard. So thank you so much for joining me. Have a good weekend and take care, guys.